The OS organization, Maulana Karenga and the conflict with the Black Panther Party, a critique and sectarian influences on historical discourse. This comes from the from the Journal of Black Studies. One of the many journals I read from and where I get my information from to talk about this subject. The Black Panther Party and us. Two black extremist groups are currently feuding. It's important that black extremist groups be kept divided so that their strength is not increased through united action. J. Edgar Hoover, December 27, 1968. In the aftermath of the Watts Rebellion, Ron Karenga, then a Los Angeles-based activist in University of California, USC, UCLA, graduate in African Affairs, formed a cultural naturalist organization called US, which became the premier organization of the Black Power movement. Karenga viewed cultural revolution as a dispensatory and primary aspect of the Black liberation struggle. US was designed to be the vanguard formation that will ignite the Black cultural revolution by introducing an alternative value system, rituals, and anesthetic expression to the broader African American community. Karenga named his cultural nationalist philosophy Kalawanda, a Swahili term that he was transitioned to mean tradition and reason, and advocated use of Swahili as a form of La Cisca Franca for African Americans. The holiday Kwanzaa is his best known alternative cultural practice established by the US organization in the 1960s. It's currently celebrated by millions of people throughout the African diaspora. As a result of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI counterintelligence operation against the U.S. organization and Karenga's imprisonment, the US program and activities went through a series of transformations during the 1970s. By 1980, it was renewed. US began to play an important part of the Afrocentric movement, and Karenga began to receive wider recognition as a scholar and a theoretician. In the writing of history of organizations that have participated in the recent social movements, such as the Black Nationalist Resurrection of the late 1960s and early 1970s, hereafter referred to as the Black Power movement, it's especially difficulty when suspicion of the antagonism produces legacies of internecine conflict and continuous hate perceptions and perspectives. The task is often complicated by a notion of several persons involved in organizational feuds and splits and vendettas are alive and sometimes act with contemporary voices of yesterday's factionalism. So, let's see. Many has embraced the negative characterization of cultural nationalism propagated by the Black Panther leadership and an array of other radical organizations. The rivalry between us and the Black Panthers reached peak in 1969 when the organization engaged in a violent internecine conflict. The intensity of the conflict was exacerbated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, systematic infiltration, and disruption of radical organizations during the 1960s and 1970s via a wave of counterintelligence programs known as COINTELPRO. The Black Panther Party leaders such as Eldridge Cleaver, Huey Newton, and Bobby Seale contended that the Black Nationalists were reactionary strategists intent on diverting African American masses from the class struggle. Among the worst examples of their anti-US Karenga campaign was the Black Panther unfounded claim that Karenga was an agent provocateur for the United States government. The uncertainty allegations of this sort made it clear that the FBI horrendous assault on us and Karenga in the late 1960s and early 1970s, which succeeded in crippling the organization. In any case, the accusation of assassination character and from this sort of commonplace were the spirit of intense of political rivalry, especially of historical clashes between Black nationalists and Marxist-oriented activities. Throughout the conflict, Karenga and US members also held a negative views of the Black Panther Party. They tend to view the parties as undisciplined and ordinarily influenced by white left organizations. Yet their sentiments were seldom put in print, and he had virtually no impact on the way in which the legacy of the Black Panther was interpreted in the historical discourse. Black Panther Party construction of the US organization, on the other hand, continue to shape both scholarly and anecdotal accounts of the US organization role in the Black Power movement. Robert Allen's early study of the Black Power movement, Black Awakening in Capitalist America, and Anaclitic History, originally published in 1969, described Karenga as a brilliant orator and a past master of use of military rhetoric. Allen goes on to state that Karenga was described by the Wall Street Journal as a type of many militants who talk about looting and burning, but are actually eager to gather influence, are quietly bargaining for the predominantly white power structure, bargaining with the predominantly white power structure. Allen does not grapple with the probable motives of the article appearances as they did the Black Panthers, assume that the Wall Street Journal status is the unquestionable authority. Likewise, Hubert Haynes and Black Radicals in the Civil Rights Movement, published in 1988, refers to the same quotation as supporting his charge that cultural nationalism did not make any overwhelming demands of whites and rarely threatened violence. Both Haynes and Allen has used propaganda of the U.S. Panther rivalry as a basis for their conclusion about us and cultural nationalism. That some 20 years of separate publication of both books suggests that the passage of time, without a critical challenge, further legitimized the errors of this sort. The discussion of us in these two books, however brief, are similarly and previously mentioned by the works of Bruce Taylor and Ngate Warren, and they lift us to the U.S. Panther rivalry out of context and accepted anti-U.S. polematics as historical fact. Perhaps beside the most conspicuous example of this acceptance and widespread usage of the Black Panther anti-U.S. epithets is repeated references of the organization as United Slaves. The name us actually means black people, the pronoun us as opposed to them. The white oppressors in an article written in the journal Black Dialogue in 1966 state, us means exactly that, all of us, black folks. Nevertheless, the slur invited United Slaves are commonly used by members of the Black Panther Party to ridicule us, and has unfortunately been repeated by many writers and social scholars, and despite that, other fact that there are no documents or records of speeches which Karenga or any us organization member refer to their organization as such. The tendency to overlook cultural nationalism political thrust is also in part of the rooted in U.S. Panther-US conflict. As stated earlier, in the aftermath of the deadly confrontation between the members of US, the Black Panther Party at UCLA, the Black Panther paper, Black Panther ran a series of articles attacking US, Karenga, and cultural nationalism. One entitled On Cultural Nationalism, Linda Harrison proclaimed that cultural nationalism has no political doctrine as a rule. Huey Newman made similar assertions stating that the cultural nationalists feel that the African culture will automatically bring political freedom. We believe that culture itself will not liberate us. We are going to need some stronger stuff. Indeed, neither Huey nor Harrison considered the way in which Karenga cultural nationalists included the politics of resistance within the defined and conceptual nature. In Re-ending this miscarriage, Bruce article, 1990, The Rise and Decline of Watts Summer Festival, i.e. a departure from the over-character assassination, the conspiracy model incorrectly junctions that cultural nationalism emphasized on community values with the views of some political nationalists who contended that African Americans were on the wage of a violent revolution. He dismisses Karenga manga cultural nationalism in the 1960s as incapable of aspiring revolutionary violence. He views the insistence of the Cultural Revolution as diversionary, long preparatory stage. This perspective conveys yet again a lack of familiarity with the body of ideas seeking to criticize. For Karenga, culture and revolution were seen as complete complementary aspects of the black liberation struggle. You can't have a revolution without culture, Karenga contended in his position statement in 1969, because culture is the value system that will teach blacks appreciation for revolution. In joint essay, Cultural Nationalism in the 1960s also characterized us and Karenga Agavitz as a non-political. She claimed that lack of concern for politics was the basis of US organization and other nationals' failures to participate in the 1960s anti-war movement. Yet this Meyer-Kahmer research demonstrated Jordan's claim that the war issue was seen as a province of the white left. although Vietnam and the proportionate numbers of dead black soldiers was always part of the national rhetoric. This is absolutely groundless. For us, the war issue was a vocal point of resistance, and the organization critique of American imperialism was explained from a standpoint of its own culture's nationalist philosophy. For example, the position entitled on Us Statement on Vietnam's declared, as member of the Wakandan faith, we oppose the war because it violates two basic principles upon our faith is based. One, it violates the six principles, Karumba, which is creativity, as members of the Wakandan faith pledge to be creative rather than destructive. We consider creative, that is, to promote human life and development. We consider destructive, that is, which is negative to human life and development. Two, the Vietnam War is also a violation of our second principle, Kalaligama, which is self-determination. For it's a war that denies people of color of Asia their right to choose their own form of government and to promote human life and development in a way they see beneficial to them and to their own needs and desires. We ourselves are struggling for the right of self-determination on every level, and we would be against ourselves if we fought to deny others the same right. Us, Cultural Organization, 1967. The Black Panther Party Revolutionary National was more of a threat to the established order than an us organization of culturalism. This was stated by Gerald Horror in 1995, book called The First to Fire This the First Time, Watts Uprising in 1960. It's reminiscent of sectarian claims exclusive to the vanguard status among those radical organizations of the late 60s. This posture greatly facilitated the violent contest for the unrivaled dominance in the movement. The tendency of some scholars and activists to regard competing traditions of resistance as less revolutionary than their own, and notwithstanding the state indiscriminate repression of the nationalist, Marxist, and even liberal organization activities during the late 60s and early 70s, suggests that a discussion as to which organization poses the greatest threat to the established order is futile at best. Especially futile. The US organization's special agent in charge of the Los Angeles branch of the FBI boasted to J. Edgar Hoover that the membership of the US organization had dropped 50% as a result of their operations. The Los Angeles director, in a report to the San Diego branch a year later, the Bureau took credit for causing a major split within the US organization. U.S. Incorporated in San Diego, the special agent in charge, has disaffiliated himself from Ron Karenga and no longer stands in allegiance to Ron Karenga, and conceivably of the result of the COINTEL program intelligence. By early 1970, many of the US organization leaders, rank and file members, were serving sentences for trumped-up charges, and scores of active members left the organization, sometimes in fear for their lives. And the former commander of the organization's paramilitary ring was brutally murdered. The fact that us and the Panther Party were paralyzed at the hands of COINTELPRO should indicate that the state did not have any preference for either ideological thrust. As far as the FBI was concerned, both organizations were simply black extremist hate groups. Now, for those wondering, I had to look this up myself. Black cultural nationalism is defined as black nationalist activism revolving around social, political, and economic empowerment of black communities and people, especially to resist assimilation into white American culture and to maintain a distinctive black identity. Now, I already don't see what's really wrong with that, you know what I'm saying, and why they got in a beef over that, But, cultural nationalism is the glue for the political nationalists you need. You know what I'm saying? They all go hand in hand. That's left foot, right foot to me. You know what I'm saying? So that tell you how easily we can be distracted off the mission. Because that's left foot, right foot. That's just hamburger, cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying? You definitely need a cultural value system off rip. You know what I'm saying? An education system. And you definitely need the political apparatus. You know what I'm saying? Not one is more valued than the other. We got to think of these things as strings, as guitar strings or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I play. You need every string, cultural nationalism, political nationalism, you know what I'm saying? Which is basically cultural nationalism, just social development and all that stuff together, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff need to come together. Come together like a guitar string. But this kind of stuff that can be on that, and that's reactionary unto itself. So, also, who else back up this story about Karenga is It was in the movie. It's in the documentary about LA. I can't think of it off rip. But it had the Bones, the guy that was in there. You know what I'm saying? Bastards of the Party. You know what I'm saying? Geronimo Pratt. He said that Karenga got a bad rap. He said no, it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? And that everybody knows Geronimo word was good as gold. You know what I'm saying? That no follow the story. Everybody respected Geronimo on both sides. But this is some kind of stuff we gotta do, But my opinion is cultural nationalism is the glue to political nationalism. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Much love. This video just came out the blue. Much love to y'all. And y'all keep on showing the love. I appreciate it. And I do it for y'all. Peace.